Top 10 Most Secret Societies. Number 10. Blackwater. This isn't so much a secret society, but rather a private army. Actually a corporate army that is, publicly funded, but privately accountable. They offer mercenary services, including infantry, navy, and police enforcement to whomever will pay their price. Since they're not a government organization, they're called in frequently to help settle disputes that are too secretive or distasteful for public services to be involved with, like policing the survivors of Hurricane Katrina. They're also considered a reliable, overpowering force for governments facing rebellion by their own people, police, and militaries, like during the financial meltdown in Greece just a couple of years ago. They were frequently mentioned in the headlines as shadowy assassins during America's hunt for Osama bin Laden, and were charged for the random killing and wounding of dozens of Iraqi civilians and children, committed by private Blackwater guards. Good news for them though, almost all charges were dropped when it was discovered they were acting under orders of the US government. They did have to pay a fee of $7.5 million for their crime, but only $5,000 went to the grieving families. US Congress approved this low level of family compensation to deter future civilians from intentionally getting killed by mercenaries for money. So don't quit your day job. The company was sold to a French group who renamed it Academy, and now Blackwater is just an Xbox game designed to encourage the next generation of mercenary soldiers to shop around before deciding to enlist. Number 9. The Order of the Skull and Bones. It's just one of those upper crust Ivy League student societies dedicated to manipulating the next generation of the power elite. Oh great, another one. Is anything real anymore? They mockingly refuse membership to all without family names like Rockefeller, Vanderbilt, or Bush. Yeah, those Bushes. In fact, GW and George Sr. and Senator Grandpappy Bush were all members during their time at Yale. But let's keep an open mind. Even Chess Club has its barrier to entry. Anyways, back in 1832, it was originally called the Brotherhood of Death, which somehow doesn't really surprise me, and is America's oldest secret student society. Their meeting hall is called The Tomb and features 2 skeletons standing over a coffin and a chopping block in a candle-lit chamber where they hold pagan rituals. It's not creepy at all. The founder was originally rejected by Phi Beta Kappa, a prestigious honor society of the time, and thus he apparently felt this was an appropriate response to channel his inner evil in a constructive way. Although I'm not really sure how it evolved into a society of future US presidents, politicians, and other powerful people given this alleged reason for its genesis, which also makes it even more creepy. Urban legend has it that the CIA is actually a skull and bones invention, which wouldn't normally seem very likely except for the fact that the CIA denies it so completely, which makes me think it's probably true. Number 8. The Freemasons. Cloaked in secrecy, brothers of this fraternal organization are not allowed to invite new members, nor share any of their secret handshakes, passwords, and strange rituals that they have to perform in order to advance in seniority within the organization. To become one, you have to ask one. And with over 5 million members worldwide, plenty of people have asked. Some pretty influential ones too. Albert Einstein, Isaac Newton, Henry Ford, Walt Disney, Benjamin Franklin, and Mark Twain, just to name a few. All that talent under one roof seems to keep them at the center of controversy, and they're mixed up in just about every conspiracy theory out there. Like seriously, if you'd seen the number of times the Masons have popped up while I've been researching all these strange mysteries, you'd think that they were the only puppet master around. They've been variously accused of either being the Illuminati, controlling the Illuminati, or being controlled by the Illuminati. But just try asking the average Mason what they know about it, and they'll probably tell you about a potluck dinner this weekend in support of a local charity, which you'll just have to interpret for yourself. Number 7. The Rosicrucians. This mystic Christian fellowship was founded by a group of 8 doctors, alchemists, and sages in the 1400s in a quest to destroy the one true ring. Jokes aside, that would be cool, but instead they actually dedicated their entire lives to providing free healthcare to anyone who needed it, and would appoint a successor to replace them after they died. Why does this sound so similar to Obamacare? The movement really took hold during the Renaissance era when a series of 3 documents were published on the newly invented iPhone printing press with Siri. They were called the, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce this,
Fama Fraternitatis Rosicrucis Confessio Fraternitatis,
and the Chemical Wedding of Christian Rosencreutz. Nope, I'm not joking, that's really what they were called. This set of manifestos preserve the mystic knowledge passed down by Jesus to his disciples when he said, imagine my Jesus voice, quote, unto you it is given to know the mysteries of the kingdom of God, but to others in parables, unquote. Back in the day, these printings sold better than a Stephen King miniseries and led to what was known as the Rosicrucian Enlightenment. They had a profound effect on groups like the Freemasons, especially the more mystic sects like the Scottish Rite that named their 18th Master Mason degree the Order of the Rosy Cross. The organization was said to have only 8 members during its initial development, which coincides with the latter half of someone's life known as Frater CRC, a guy at the core of the society. A guy who is also said to have lived for 106 years and was born in 1378. We have no idea how many there are today, but the Rosicrucians are widespread and numerous, but strangely sworn to secrecy. If you know how many there are, you are one, or you know someone who is one, please leave a comment. Some of us would love to know, but out of respect, please be sure to share it as a parable. Number 6, Ordo Templis Orientis. The Order of the Temples of the East was originally founded as an offshoot of the Masons, kind of like the Stonecutters, but without Steve Gutenberg. But it underwent radical changes when an occult magician known as the Great Beast, Aleister Crowley, took over the leadership. He was pretty notorious back in the day, but in describing the man, Ozzy Osbourne really says it best. Mr. Crowley, what went on in your head? Oh, Mr. Crowley, did you talk to the dead? The cult adopted principles of his religious system, called Thelema, which dictates that, quote, do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law, love under the will, unquote. This is set against the background of bizarre pagan rituals involving ancient Egyptian gods and the devil, lots of hashish, naked virgin priestesses, and ceremonial masturbation. Crowley was spying on his own activities for the British Secret Service, since this kind of stuff really fascinated them. But born with a silver spoon, he found his church donations were a little lacking to support his lifestyle, and he ended up freelance writing for Vanity Fair magazine. Number 5, the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. This is yet another occult group that grew out of the Masonic and Rosicrucian traditions, but with a much stronger emphasis on ritual magic like spellcasting, astrology, astral travel, crystal balls, and potions. A young Aleister Crowley was one of the Order's most famous members before he left to really get his free con. The Order's foundational documents are written in English, but encoded with a secret cipher that can only be decoded by members that have allegedly achieved a significant degree of seniority within the ranks. However, being able to decode the writings doesn't really guarantee that they'll make any sense to you, since they're largely based in deeply esoteric belief systems like Kabbalah and Egyptology. Other famous members included Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, the writer behind Sherlock Holmes, and Bram Stoker, who wrote the occult novel classic Dracula. Why did all these strange people belong to this society? Number 4, the Knights Templar. Founded almost 1,000 years ago as a kind of highway patrol for pilgrims in the Holy Land, they were originally called the Poor Fellow Soldiers of Christ. Their emblem was of 2 knights riding on a single horse, emphasizing the order's poverty. But just like the modern-day ride-sharing service Uber, their fortunes exploded when they were granted a headquarters on the site of King Solomon's Temple in Jerusalem. The Knights, that is, not Uber. And they became known as the Templar Knights. With such good PR, suddenly every rich kid wanted to be one and take the vow of poverty, which made the organization very wealthy from donations. So wealthy, in fact, they invented the world's first traveler's checks so that pilgrims wouldn't have to travel with valuables for bandits to steal. As the world's first bank, their treasury grew even greater until one day they loaned an extremely large sum of cash to a king known as Philip the Fair. Ironically, but not surprisingly, he was actually quite unfair. He coveted their fantastic wealth for himself. And since he couldn't repay his loan anyways, he pulled some strings with his cousin, the Pope, whom he had appointed, and had the Templars excommunicated as devil worshippers, disbanded as traitors, and seized all their assets. The day of the arrests, tortured confessions, and burnings at the stake occurred on a Friday the 13th, which gave rise to this dark superstition, and the name of the very cool horror movie series. A few Templars managed to flee the country with their most prized possessions, allegedly the Holy Grail and the Ark of the Covenant, and supposedly ended up in sympathetic Scotland, which was also excommunicated at the time. From there, the Scottish Rite of Freemasons arose and smuggled the treasures to America, where many believe they were buried on Oak Island in Canada. Number 3, everyone's favorite, the Illuminati. As the unofficially self-appointed spokesperson for the Illuminati, I'm in no way whatsoever authorized to tell you we don't really exist, so please stop asking. We are not managing the New World Order through YouTube. We are not implanting you with subliminal thoughts as you binge watch our video playlist. The Illuminati doesn't officially exist, and believe me, covering it up is very tedious. If you don't believe me, just ask the CIA. They will deny everything. At least they better. I told them to. Number 2, Opus Dei. Opus Dei is in the form of some sort of organization within the Catholic Church that may be hiding something important, and according to many critics, allegedly acts as, well, if they're better than other Christians. It is claimed that they strongly emphasize the belief that, quote, everyone is called to holiness, and that ordinary life is a path to sanctity, end quote. I gotta say, that's a pretty deep statement. By the way, sanctity means sainthood or becoming a saint. I had to look that up too, so I assume you may have needed to. Things get weird kind of quick with this one, although you may have to ponder it a bit. This organization has some controversial recruiting methods, something that seems to go against Christian teachings to even have recruiting methods at all, as they tend to accept everyone. They also practice what many may call extreme behaviors, such as mortification of the flesh, which sounds almost as bad as it actually is. The act of physically punishing themselves for atonement of their sins, such as being whipped or something unusual like lying face down on the floor. About 30% of this group is completely celibate, and they all have some form of a secular career. Because of their beliefs that seem to go beyond Catholic teachings, strict rules, the fact that they have been known to sponsor authoritarian governments, and their recruitment methods, they have been accused quite a bit of being elitists. Once again, a strange thing in the Catholic Church, which has formed into a theory some believe involves Opus Dei hiding something about the Catholic Church. In the book The Da Vinci Code, Dan Brown proposes, in a way that seems like he is stating a fact, that Opus Dei is an alleged secret organization within the Catholic Church with the goal of defeating another group known as the Priori of Sion, and anyone else who wanted to learn the real truth of Christianity, and also apparently the royal bloodline of Jesus Christ. Number 1. The Black Hand. This secret military society in the Balkans was formed in 1911 with the aim of liberating the Serbian people from Austro-Hungarian rule. Their half-baked plan was to assassinate the Archduke Franz Ferdinand, yes, like that Franz Ferdinand, who was the heir to the Austrian throne, assuming that this would initiate a war between Austria and Serbia. The first 2 assassination attempts with a car bomb failed to injure the Archduke and his wife, and they managed to escape. But as fate would have it, their driver made a wrong turn and coincidentally stopped to turn around, right in front of the 3rd assassin, who shot them dead. Not gonna lie, doesn't sound like that guy was having too good of a day. Well, Austria did declare war with Serbia, and Russia did come to Serbia's aid, and then Germany joined Austria, and then France joined Russia, and Britain joined France, and the US joined Britain, and so on, until all the major military powers had responded to their various treaty alliances, and World War I was fully underway. 4 years and 16 million deaths later, the war that was supposed to end all wars was ended with the Treaty of Versailles, which declared the US, Britain, and France as the victors, and Germany as the big loser. And the German people were taxed 80% of their wages to help pay for the war damages. So after 20 years of this, Hitler had a humiliated and fed-up country eating from the palm of his hand, launching World War II, which lasted 6 years and took another 85 million lives. Unfortunately, in the aftermath, the Allied forces in Russia couldn't quite agree on how to maintain peacetime security, and deep divisions grew into the Cold War, which very nearly became World War III, and threatened the human race with extinction. The Black Hand was just a small, secret conspiracy group, and really just an assassin cell of 3 members. But that one bullet that killed Franz Ferdinand almost freaking killed all of us, and that's why this is number 1 on our list.